I think that doing papers is much more detached emotionally, because you really have no connection or context to what your interviewee may have been feeling in that specific moment. So for me, it was really nice to do a video because at one point Lindsay started crying, remembering her sister and mother and brother, and had that been on paper, you couldn't really gauge how she felt in that moment. And I think learning wise, I feel like we do so much writing anyway on paper as well, that it was nice to kind of have variety.
I think that hearing her talk about segregation, her experiences with them, it's a lot more powerful than just reading out of a book, because you can read about things and it might stick with you in a way, but I think it sticks with you on a more deep level if you hear somebody talking about it and hear their emotion about it and their feelings of how it affected their life. So I think listening to her, it just made me feel even more for the people who went through what they went through, because she put so much emotion into what she was saying.
Like when I first interviewed her with the questions, I had a vague theme that I just figured out that I could kind of work out as we went. When she gets into a story, she'll get really into it and she can go on and on, which she did end up doing, and I ended up with a 45-minute interview, which gave me almost too much to work with. And so then when I first was looking at it, I wasn't really looking at it from a very critical standpoint. When I set up my theme, the one that I kind of ended up going with, I included a lot more than I really needed. And so I kind of went off and talked about her brother when I was really focusing on her and religion and how she kind of worked through all the hardships she did when she was younger. And then that ended up being almost 12 minutes. And so then I had my parents look at it and my sister look at it, and I watched it dozens of times, and I kind of realized that I was really getting off track at some points, and that took away from the overall theme. And so then I ended up cutting pieces that I felt kind of undermined what I was going for, and then that ended up cutting almost 6 minutes. She actually texted me beforehand asking if she was supposed to answer them in an adult manner versus her true self, because I knew that her as a person, she was incredibly eloquent and she's very creative and funny, and so I figured that I should just go with what she felt most comfortable with as opposed to what she thought other people wanted to see, and that ended up being the best option.
Me and her know each other pretty well, so we're pretty comfortable with each other, and she really likes to tell stories, so she would pretty much sit down with anybody, and if they wanted to listen, she would tell them. When I was choosing the song, I really wanted a song that would set the tone for the whole movie. I thought about songs from that era that I thought would fit well with it, and I think the song fit well with the whole theme of my movie, how things change and that better times are coming. But I just made sure that I turned the music to only 20 or 30%.
When watching other people's finished projects and the music they chose, a lot of people chose music that had lyrics and some that might have even been popular. And watching that, I found that I was focusing more on the lyrics because subconsciously it was something I recognized, the lyrics. And so I picked music that was really simple and quiet and didn't necessarily cater to a certain emotion, because what she said, a lot of it was really intense and dark and sad for her, but then a lot of it was also humorous and lighthearted, and so I picked something that kind of could go with either category.
Since my story was focused in a certain time period, it was easy for me to go on Google and find lots of images that would fit it really well. So that made it much easier for me. I just wanted to make sure that the photo was always connected to what they were saying, and then there was no overlap with a photo that didn't make sense for what the script was talking about. So there were certain portions of the script that were talking about certain thing like segregated water fountains or segregated bathrooms, so I just wanted to make sure that always the photo was connected to what she was saying or what I was saying. I think some of my photos were on for a bit too long, but it just ended up being I couldn't find quite enough for how long my script was, but I think it ended up working because of the song I chose was slower, so I didn't have to switch the photos as much.
I would agree with Isaiah in that personal photos are the most authentic, and I would say you get the most out of them because it's like how a picture is worth 1,000 words. Like, yes, the audio is important, but it's also having authentic personal photos gives more context to the conversation. When she was talking about colleges and shock therapy, I thought that those were very important aspects of the video. I just really looked for pictures that were relevant to that time period. I would recommend doing videos because using audio and visuals are really helpful to capture like the crucial and emotional moments of the person, the interviewee. Visuals are also super important because not only are you hearing the words and what that person has been going through.
I think listening to somebody when they're talking about what they've gone through, their struggles, is really important, because if you can try and make yourself connect emotionally to the person and what they're going through, you can have more of an understanding of what they went through and empathize with them more. So I think that's really important. And then trying to connect yourself to their story and to understand it in a deeper way, and also learn more about yourself and your experience and how what they've gone through can connect to what you're going through right now. I watched a documentary on Allen Iverson, which was really, really good, because with him, he has such a media presence with his famous practice interview clip, which is totally misunderstood, because when he was talking about that, reporters had asked him about practice, and when he was saying practice, which now people take as like Allen Iverson never practiced and he never worked hard, it was because his best friend had gotten shot, and so he was asking the reporters, why are you asking me about practice? My best friend just died. So I think learning about a different aspect of somebody's life that is totally misunderstood by the general public, and learning about their story and empathizing with what they've gone through and understanding them in a different light, and it was just done really well, using clips of him talking and people that knew him talking and that held him in a different light than so much of the public does.